A very good afternoon I would like to bid to all my lecturers, and for today I would like to do an oral presentation on my research proposal. So this will be the content that I'm going to discuss for today. And to start, I would like to introduce the topic of my research, which is the use of Hoga hands-on group activity to improve pupils' interest in the ESL writing classroom. Alright, this will be discussed under chapter 1. To start, I would like to give an overview of the study. So the mastery of English is essential for pupils to gain access to information and knowledge written in English. And according to Welsh, as we know that English, it consists of four skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So for Welsh, he argues that writing is very important. It's because of it is being used extensively, no matter in higher education or in workplace. So according to Doctor Health Benefits 2020, it builds a structure for the learners to communicate feelings, complex ideas, opinions, and in more written form. Alright, so the context for the study, it will be Chinese primary school, which was located in Sri Petaling, Kuala Lumpur, and the pupils they had good language proficiency. And most of them come from medium social academic status, and this class consists 50 of them. Alright, so the reflection of teaching and learning. The pupils they showed interest in every language skills except for writing skills. And according to Heidi, Reninger, and Rapp, they conclude that the reasons of lack of interest originates from two factors. First will be from the teachers, and second will be from the learners. So the teachers' lack of appropriate pedagogic approach to teach writing include providing prompt and effective activity to pupils, and most crucially, teaches the lack of ability to motivate the pupils. So the pupils that do not show interest when printed materials are given, when they are required to complete the task individually. So this is the however, it is different when it comes to another lesson. The pupils that showed interest as they are required to create a pad using clay, then after that they are required to create a poem to describe the pet. So from the facial expression, we can see that the pupils actually they enjoy very much, and they wanted to get their work participated. They wanted to get their work presented to their friends. Alright, so under preliminary investigation, so preliminary investigation will be carried out to verify the problem found. So interview will be used, observation and as well as questionnaire will be used. So under interview, this is the sample questions. This is the questions that will be used to ask the teacher. So a 30-minute interview will be carried out with the class teacher. It is to discuss about the pupil's behavior shown when different activities are being carried out. So open-ended questions will be used to enable the class teacher to best voice the experience in an unconstrained perspective. Alright, so for observation, this is the behavioral checklist which will be used, and it is adapted from Burns A 2010. So behavioral checklist is for the teachers to find out more about the students who are not interested and did not participate well in the classroom. So teacher will take what are the behavior of the pupils? For example, yawning, constantly looking around. These are the behavior that shows that the pupils are not interested in the lesson. And this checklist allows the researcher to capture the snapshot, means that every behavior teacher can know. Alright, so for question A, this questionnaire it consists of two parts. Part A is intended to confirm that the pupils are interested in other language skills but not in writing skills. So this is part A. So part B refers to this. Part B questionnaire it refers to it's to identify and to confirm that the pupils preferable activity. For example, which activity do you prefer, printed touch sheet or hands-on activity? Alright, introduction. It's under chapter 2, selection of research focus and action. So selection of research focus, there are three. First, practicality. Practicality, it does not require the researcher to invest a high budget. So that's why it's very practical. Why? It's because all the materials are available at school and recycled material can be used. Besides that, the teachers can get creative ideas from the online. For the second selection of research focus, significance will be discussed. Why is interest so important? It's because of, according to Heady, being interested in a topic is a mental resource that enhances learning. So it's proof that interest and learning has a very close relation. That's why the researcher is very interested to find out, can the use of Hoga improve pupils' interest? Alright, so the last one will be control. The researcher must have control on how can the hands-on activity be carried out. And they must have control as only 2 maximum teaching periods for each day, and the researcher must make sure that there are sufficient time for the pupils to complete the writing task, as the pupils will be given the hands-on activity. After that, only a writing task follow. Alright, so 2.2 action. This researcher used Camis and McTaggart action model. So we know that there are actually 2 cycles. So first, plan. So what do you have to plan? You have to make sure that you know what your problem is, and then what intervention are you going to use, and then what is your data collection method, how are you going to conduct it. All that will be under plan. So second, action. Action is means that you have to carry out your intervention, which under action it involves data collection. So observe comes to the third step. Observe means that you have to analyze and synthesize the data collected in action phase. So reflect here, you need to make a decision either to continue or to conclude your research based on the data collected. Alright, so here comes to 3.0, research objective and research questions. Research objective first is to use. The objective of the study is to use Hoga, hands-on group activity, to improve Year 4 pupils' interest in the ESL writing classroom. So there are 2 specific objectives. First, to improve pupils' interest. Second, to know the perception of the pupils. So research question, there are 2 as well. How can the use of Hoga help in improving Year 4 pupils' interest? And second, what are the pupils' perception on the use of Hoga in the ESL writing classroom? So it comes to 4.0, research participants. Research participants, the researcher is using purposive technique. According to Crossman 2020, a purposive sample refers to it is selected based on characteristics of a population and the objective of the study. So the objective of the study is to improve the pupils' interest in a writing lessons. So we know that the participants then tend not to show interest in a writing classroom. So that's why 4 participants will be selected. How are they going to select? How will they be selected? So this is actually based on the questionnaire, the result from the questionnaire which was used in preliminary investigation. So the researcher will identify the pupils first tend not to show interest in writing classroom. Second, the pupils they choose group work as their preferable activity. Alright, here comes to 5.0, plan of action and implementation. So these will be discussed. So first, action plan. Okay, again, the researcher is actually using Camis and McTaggart action model. So before I explain on the action plan, so I would like to introduce you what is the intervention used by the researcher. So it's actually Hoga, hands-on group activity, which refers to. So why is hands-on activity so important? So according to Kelly 2013, well-designed hands-on activity which focus on the world around the pupils can actually spark the pupils' curiosity. First, second, it can guide the pupils through the experience, and they can slowly helps to achieve the expected learning outcome. That's why hands-on activity is very important. Besides that, this intervention is based on Vygotsky theory. Vygotsky theory, social constructivism. The pupils were required to work in groups, to collaborate, to communicate with their friends. So this part it requires the pupils to communicate and interact with their friends. And Vygotsky believes that by interacting, by communicating, pupils can learn from MKO as well. MKO refers to more knowledgeable others. So this is a very important part where you have to identify and you have to get to know the intervention used by the researcher. So now let's look into planning. So first, the researcher need to identify a focus area. After that, they have to develop and refine your research objective as well as your research question. Your research question is actually the problem. Then you develop into a question which the intervention aims to identify and aims to develop to your research questions and objective. Third, you have to gain permission from the school administrator, the class teacher, as well as the pupils. So you have to think about what are the ways, maybe the letters, you have to prepare in advance, and some acknowledgement letters. Alright, so next one, identify research problem and confirm it by carrying out preliminary investigation. Next, you have to identify the data using data collection methods. So you have to think about what are the suitable collection method that you should use. So observation, like interview. So next, it comes to action. Action phase is where the researcher will implement the intervention introduced. So the researcher plans to carry out 4 sessions, which refers to 2 sessions with intervention, 2 sessions without intervention. So, however, the same teaching method will be used. Only activity carry out is different. So again, in action, you have to very important thing is you have to collect your data in your action stage while your intervention is being introduced. So what are the ways of your data collection? So there will be 2, observation and as well as interview. However, field notes and videotape, it's the 2 for observation. So for interview, the observation is used to answer the first research objective and also research question, which is to know how can the use of HOGA helps in improving pupil interest. So for the second one, interview, is actually to understand, to know the pupil's perception on the use of HOGA. Alright, so this is a sample which writing lessons without HOGA. So I mentioned before that the researcher will only use different activities, but the teaching method is the same. So PowerPoint slides and then give a photostated machine. This is without intervention. So photostated task sheet will be given and the pupils will be required to complete the task individually. So this is the part where with intervention, so it's the same PowerPoint slides and then pupils will discuss on a pet they would like to have. Then class will be given, they have to shape their pet and after that they will have to adapt the poem given. So action, okay, it comes to the third step, observation. So according to Burns 2010, this is what he defines, and under observation, we have to analyze and synthesize the data collected. So based on the data collection method, observation as well as interview. So you have to analyze the data. So here it comes to the next step, reflection. Bernard, he defines that an ongoing reflection is satisfying and makes the research worthwhile. So here, the researcher needs to analyze the effectiveness of the intervention, which the researcher can actually use reflective questions, which is suggested by Burns 2010. And the researchers need to plan the next step. The researcher needs to make a decision on whether to continue or to conclude the research. Alright, so this is the reflective questions which can be used for the researcher to reflect on, has this actually achieved my research objective or answer my RQ. So this is the sample research question. Sample reflective. So here it comes to data collection procedure. So for observation, what are the steps? So first, for observation, you have to gain permission from the pupils, from the class teacher, as well as from the school admins. That you need the assistance from your practical mates to get them to help you with the videotape. Because it's in observation, the researcher will be carrying out the intervention. However, for the researcher to further analyze the data, the behavior of the pupils will be recorded, and after that, the researcher will transfer and write and record the pupils' behavior in the field notes. So that's for observation. Now let's look into interview. So the researcher need to think about what needs to be achieved in the interview, and they use the interview to know the perception of the pupils on the use of Hoga. Then after that, the researcher need to organize the interview and select research participants and inform them about the details of the interview. Then lastly will be to conduct the interview. So here means that the interview questions need to be prepared in advance. So these are the questions. Do you like? So this is basically based on the particular. This is actually based on the particular learning. Based on the particular lessons. So do you like directing activity for today, which requires you to create a pad and write the poem on it? Then here it comes to data analysis procedure. First, observation. First, the researcher need to analyze the video with observation field notes. So after that, the researcher need to analyze the behavior. How is the researcher going to analyze? So they will be discussed after that. So this is the procedure. So this is the sample. He looked at his friend on how to shape the clay. He followed his friend's action. When he cannot shape, he referred to his friend. So this is the actions shown by the pupils which they actually show interest as they wanted to try it out on the hands-on activity introduced. Then next, this is without intervention. He looked at the task and showed a frown face. He did not start on the task immediately. He looked around at his friends and he started to look at the drawer. So he was lost and he did not find motivation to complete the task. So this is the sample field notes, which is based on the observation from the videotape. Alright, so procedure. So for interview, the researcher will actually use the grounded theory methodology to analyze data, which involves open coding, forming teams, categories, and interconnecting the categories, and build a story that connects the categories. Alright, so during the initial coding, the researcher will read the data collected line by line to look for ideas and issue arise. After that, the researcher will analyze each data respectively and from each of the research participants. Then researcher will need to use color-coded similar ideas and different teams will be formed. For example, the people show interest, ask questions. So show interest will be, the point will be highlighted using red. Then after that, if the pupils did not show interest, looking around, staring at their friends, then that will be used. Then another color coding will be used, maybe green. So this is the example of the researcher is going to, how is the researcher going to analyze the data collected. Last one, the researcher will write an interpretive narrative and it might involve the direct quotes from the participants. Alright, so that's the part for data collection, data analysis. So now it moves on to triangulation. Triangulation has been used widely adopted in research, and what is the purpose of triangulation? It is to strengthen the data, make sure that the researcher is adopting an objective approach to the data collected. And it's based on Burns 2010. Triangulation. So questionnaire will be used, questionnaire, interview, and observation is used in preliminary. Besides that, in data collection method, observation is used through video recording and also field notes. Last one is interview. Alright, so implementation schedule. So this is actually, we can see that there are 2 sessions. Without intervention will be carried out first, then with intervention will be carried out on the 31st of July, and 1st of August, the researcher will analyze the data collected, then after that will carry out without intervention session 2, with intervention session 2, and analyze the data collected. So this refers to the data collection involved. So it comes to budget. So it's going to just be color paper, printed ink, color ink, or black ink, and some clay. So the total price is 106 ringgit, which is affordable for the researcher. And these are the references, and that's all from me. Thank you.